What's going on, fantasy owners? Welcome back to another episode of the Eye Test. I'm here with co-host Paul Orlando, and today we're going to be grading some free agency moves strictly for the tight ends that have been moved around. We don't necessarily value the tight end position that much here at the Eye Test, mainly because they just don't put up that many fantasy points. But we do have to grade them because some tight ends that were changing teams for next year are going to do worse, and some are going to certainly do better. We're going to start with Hayden Hurst, but before we get into that, if you're watching on YouTube, welcome. Go ahead and subscribe to our channel, like this video, and comment which tight end is going to make the biggest jump next year. Paul, Hayden Hurst, do you like the move? Do you hate the move? Does it not really matter to you? He's on the Panthers.
Yeah, I'm indifferent on the move. As a Hayden Hurst owner in Dynasty, I would have preferred he stay in Cincinnati. I think that was a really good spot for him. He was certainly serviceable last year for the Bengals. He got rolling a little bit in the middle of the year and then got hurt and was just kind of never the same after that. But when he was rolling, there's a couple green boxes on his rankings here on Sleeper, John. So I really liked him in Cincinnati. Wish he would have stayed, but we don't make the rules. He's in Carolina now, and I think that he is going to do okay. I am not thrilled about it. The big silver lining, shining obstacle, and we preach this all the time, but what's a young quarterback's favorite weapon?
Tight end.
Safety blanket, tight end. So I can foresee Hurst having a decent floor from a tight end perspective, maybe 6, 7, 8 points a game. I don't think he's going to blow the roof off. He's not going to have many 20-plus point games. When he scores a touchdown, he might get 14, 15, 16 points. But he's not going to hit that upper echelon of 20-plus in many games, which is why I'm very indifferent on it. Is Hayden Hurst serviceable in both redraft and dynasty leagues as your tight end? Yes, but again, that's not saying much.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a better landing spot than Cincinnati. Cincinnati didn't really favor the tight end position that much. You know, they had a solid running game. They had what I would call now like a experienced quarterback, maybe not veteran, but an experienced quarterback that doesn't need to rely on his tight end for help. You know, he was doing just fine with Jamar Chase and T. Higgins and Joe Mixon back there. So I do think that the Panthers are making smart moves by bringing in veterans like Hayden Hurst and Adam Thielen. If you didn't watch our Adam Thielen grade, go back to our channel and watch that. Hayden Hurst, 29 years old. He's been in the league for 5 years. He had not his best season, but I guess you could say his second best season since he was on Atlanta his first year. He did a pretty good job there. And again, he's going to be accompanied by a younger quarterback. I think that's a solid move by the Panthers because they're planning to get a young quarterback in the draft, obviously, who's going to need to rely on these veterans. Hayden Hurst is one of those veterans. I don't think he's going to do much better than he did last year, frankly, just because I don't think he's that good of a tight end. Red zone threat, not really. We'll see. I think it's a better landing spot, but I think he's going to do just the same. So I would give him a C, C+.
That's where I give it a C. That's about where I get it too. But I just liked him better on Cincy.
Yeah. How come?
I just think having two premier wide receivers just open up the middle for him. And if you give him and Joe Burrow another year together, I think it would have been good. And plus, he got hurt in like week 13 and 14, missed 4 games and came back for the last 2, and was just, you could tell it wasn't anything special after that. But before that, he was doing okay.
So let's move on to Mike Gesicki then. He was signed by the Patriots. Moving on from the Dolphins, where he was competing for targets between Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. Do you like the move for Mike Gesicki to the Patriots?
I like the move. The only thing that scares me is that not too long ago, the Patriots brought in Hunter Henry and Jonnu Smith at the same time in free agency, and Henry just couldn't stay healthy, and Jonnu Smith was mostly just a blocking tight end. So people are going to look at this and being like, okay, they're trying to recreate what they had with Gronk. And if that's the case, great move for Gesicki. He's going to be featured in this offense. Gesicki is kind of a glorified slot receiver. I mean, he is built more like a receiver than he is a tight end. He's more athletic than most tight ends, quicker, definitely a better receiver than most tight ends. So I foresee him being a great safety blanket and honestly the wide receiver two in New England right now behind Juju. So I like the move in that regard. But kind of similar to our previous episode, John, I just can't support anything that has Mac Jones throwing them the ball. And so I'm going to give this move a B just because I think Gesicki is certainly an upgrade from Henry and Jonnu Smith in the receiving department. I think Gesicki getting out of Miami to New England and being an actual component of this offense is a big move. But again, it's all about the guy. You got to the ball's got to be somewhat near you for you to catch it, and I just don't know if I trust Mac Jones.
Yeah, I like the Mike Gesicki move. I think that he's certainly going to outperform his stats from last year. He had 5 touchdowns and 300 yards. So that really shows that he was strictly used in the red zone inside the 20-yard line, which the Dolphins were getting to more often than the Patriots. But if they can find a way to utilize the tight end with Mac Jones, that would probably help Mac Jones and Gesicki, obviously Gesicki. But I there's less targets to compete with in New England than there is in Miami. It's probably a similar, like a lateral move from quarterbacks. Obviously, like a maybe not lateral because it is a step down from Tua, but it's not a step down if you're taking in consideration the fact that Tua wasn't playing some of those games. So I think that it is like a lateral move in terms of quarterback play, and he's going to get more targets, and he's going to be that guy in the red zone. I mean, he's had 3 years out of his 4 years that he's played, he's scored 5 or more touchdowns. He's played just about every game in the season his whole career, so he's durable. He is built like that receiver, so look for Gesicki to get more yards next year. I see him blowing 360 out of the roof there. I see him going back closer to where he's been hanging out the previous years in like the 500 to 800 range. So look towards that, and more catches too. I mean, he had 32 catches last year. Again, guys, that is strictly for red zone purposes, but the previous years that wasn't the case. I mean, he dropped down 40 catches between 2021 and 2022. He had 73 catches his 2021 season with the Dolphins. So I see an improvement in receptions, yards, and probably hanging out in that 5 to 8 range for touchdowns. So I'm going to go ahead and say Gesicki is a top 10 tight end last year, which isn't saying, or sorry, next year, which isn't saying much. Um, However, going from the 23rd tight end in PPR leagues to the top 10 is quite the improvement.
Yeah, I think Gesicki will certainly improve for all those reasons that you just said, and I think it'll be fun to actually see Gesicki, which you would have thought that Mike McDaniel coming over from San Fran with George Kittle would have used the tight end position more. So it'll be nice to see Gesicki back in a role where he is actually a focal point of the offense.
All right. And then last tight end special report card. This was a big move. We were probably all expecting the Cowboys to move on from him, but Dalton Schultz moved on to the Texans, who is also expected to get a young quarterback. This is kind of a loaded question here because I said that, but do you like the Dalton Schultz move to the Texans?
I do. I really, really do. I think this is my favorite move of the tight ends. And it's funny, two of my favorite moves in the fantasy season this year have both involved the Cowboys, except one of the guys they gained in Brandon Cooks. And my other favorite move was a guy they gave up and went to the Texans. So I really like Dalton Schultz. Just to run down some numbers here, he did miss a couple games between week 3 and 6, but tight end number 6, tight end number 6, tight end number 3, tight end 1, tight end 4, tight end 1. I mean, yeah, there's a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 games out of the 10 that he played, 11, 12 that he played, where he's the top 5 tight end or top 6 tight end. Sorry. So, like we said before, young quarterback coming in Houston, most likely with that second pick. I don't see them rocking with Davis Mills. I think they're going to take whoever Carolina doesn't take. And Dalton Schultz has an opportunity here to be a huge safety blanket for this quarterback. There's no Brandon Cooks. So right now, looking at the roster, Dalton Schultz is the best receiver on the Houston Texans.
Mm-hmm.
So again, not saying much, but it's still key in terms of fantasy value. Dalton Schultz is certainly going to be a guy that they look for in this offense. And we've seen it. The stats have kind of shown it. He has tight end one upside, major tight end one upside, which again isn't saying much, but still, I love Dalton Schultz in the middle rounds.
So do I. Yeah, he's definitely going to be a tight end one again next year. And he does have that high ceiling. He's had a couple games where he scored 25 PPR points, 14, 19, 17. So that's the upside we like to see. Only had a couple games where he was scoring less than 5 points. Really only like he had a couple 5 point games and then 1.8 just total donut game. But you can expect that from a tight end that isn't named Travis Kelce. So it's nice to see Dalton Schultz not competing many receivers for targets. The Texans did get Robert Woods, which I think could
Oh, they did.
eat into some targets, but it's not like threatening by any means. Dalton Schultz being that rookie quarterback safety blanket is certainly big when it comes to the red zone and just like getting completions and getting the momentum going. That young quarterback is going to need to do that, and he's probably going to look for Dalton Schultz. So I'm going to go ahead and give this an A grade. I think it's a amazing step up for the Texans, and although you're probably getting worse quarterback play for Dalton Schultz, you're certainly going to see the same amount, if not more, volume coming your way.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I'm giving it an A as well. And just to kind of put this in perspective of the ceiling of Dalton Schultz, in 2021, Schultz played an actual full season and he finished as a tight end three. So it's there. The potential's there. If Schultz can stay healthy, I think in terms of tight end, sky's the limit.
So go ahead in the comments. Comment below who you think is going to do better next year in fantasy formats. Hayden Hurst, Mike Gesicki, or Dalton Schultz. Let us know down in the comments. Like this video, subscribe to our channel. We'll be coming out with more content next week. We don't know what it's going to be. We got to wait to see what happens in the NFL. Maybe it'll be Brady.
Lamar.
Maybe it'll be Lamar Jackson. Keep an eye out for our shorts also, guys. We do plenty of YouTube shorts. We try and do them every day. Although it's a little slow right now in the NFL, we're going to keep giving you the content that you need to be prepared for next year's fantasy football season. We will be back next week. Thanks for watching. See you later, everybody.